So this video is on the dynamic behavior of CMOS FET, in which we are going to discuss the propagation delay from a design perspective. Okay. So for this we are going to discuss the first order analysis based for your propagation delay. One way to compute delay is to integrate the capacitance charging and discharging current. We know that to compute the capacitance charging and discharging delay, the TP is equal to C by I. So that can be integrated to perform or to compute the delay, is it? Hence it is CL of V divided by I of V into dV, and the initial voltage of the integration is V1 and the final voltage is V2. Here the CL of V and I of V are the nonlinear functions of V. Hence we are using a simple switch model given earlier to derive an approximation. It is not an exact value of Rn, but is an approximate value. Here both the on resistance and load capacitance are replaced by a constant elements assigned average values over a region of interest. The average on resistance is given by, see here it is 3 by 4 VDD ID saturation into 1 minus 7 by 9 lambda into VDD, with an ID saturation current is ID saturation current equals to K dash W by L VDD minus VT into VD saturation minus VD saturation square by 2. So this ID saturation already we have derived, and this derivation is a very basic derivation on R equivalent value of your MOSFET. And by considering the linearized load capacitance that is derived previously, based on that we are going to compute the propagation delay based on first order linear RC network. So as it is RC network, generally for any RC network the time delay is 0.69 RC. Is the same? It is derived here, and the propagation height to load delay is ln 2 or equivalent of NFET into load capacitance. So this is equal to 0.69 R equivalent of NFET into CL. Similarly for propagation delay of low to high, it is ln 2 or equivalent PFET into CL, that is equivalent to, that is ln 2 is actually equivalent to 0.69, and R equivalent resistance of P MOSFET is R equivalent P, and CL is your load capacitance. This load capacitance is approximated earlier and it is already discussed in the previous classes. The propagation delay generally is defined as the average of two propagation delay of high to low and low to high. That is why the equation is rewritten as TP, total TP is it, that is equal to TPHL plus TPLH divided by 2. By substituting 0.69 R equivalent N and CL for TPHL, and for substituting TPLH as 0.69 R equivalent P into CL, you can take 0.69 into CL as common, and R equivalent N plus R equivalent P divided by 2 will be computed, and this indicates the rise time and fall time, and it is necessary to make the on resistance of the N MOSFET and P MOSFET to be equal. Thus, see here, if you want to reduce the propagation delay, see from this equation, we need to reduce your load capacitance. To reduce the propagation delay, the load capacitance should be reduced, is it? And by increasing the W by L ratio of the transistors. See, in the load capacitance that we already discussed earlier, your CL is proportional to Kn dash, hence it is proportional to W by L. If you increase your W by L ratio of the transistor, by doing so, you are increasing the load capacitance also. Similarly, by increasing the VDD, the delay of the gate can be modulated by modifying it. Is it? This allows the designer to trade off the energy dissipation for the performance. However, when you try to reduce or increase above the certain levels, you need minor improvements in the circuit. And in the propagation delay, what we are going to discuss is, we are going to discuss on NMOS to PMOS ratio, and then we are going to discuss on rise fall time of the input output signal and delay in the presence of interconnect wiring. So in this video, we will start with NMOS to PMOS ratio. See, several observations can be made from the analysis that PMOS was widened to match the resistance of NMOS by 3 to 3.5 times. Is it? Because your NMOS is much more faster to match its resistance value. Is it? To match its resistance value, we are making the PMOS wider compared to that of your NMOS. This was done to provide the symmetrical high to low and low to high propagation delays. This makes the TPHL and TPLH to be an equivalent value. So this also triples the PMOSFET gate and the diffusion capacitance. If you do so, if you widen the PMOS, it triples the PMOS gate and diffusion capacitance. And it is possible to speed up the inverter by reducing the width of the PMOSFET devices. The PMOSFET device width can be reduced, but there is if you reduce it, you have to compromise with symmetry and noise margin. Is it? And widening the PMOSFET reduces TPLH, TP low to high, because you have to match with NMOSFET. That is why widening PMOSFET reduces TP low to high. That is the propagation delay from low to high, which means that if you are giving an input as 1 and you are getting your output as 0 in your CMOS inverter, is it? Which meant that you are propagating high to low here. Hence the propagation delay from high to low is represented with TPHL. Is it? Input is 1 and this is propagating through the inverter and you are getting your output as low. That is what your TPHL is, propagating high to low. That the time it takes is your TPHL. Similarly for TPLH, that is low to high. That is why by widening the PMOS reduces TP low to high by increasing the charging current, but it also degrades the TP high to low by causing a large parasitic capacitance. Hence, always there should be an optimal ratio that balances the two contradictory effects. Okay. And if you consider if there are two identical size CMOS inverters are available that we discussed in the previous class, the load capacitance of the first gate is approximated by, see, it is equivalent to diffusion capacitance of NMOSFET and PMOSFET, and then the gate capacitance of NMOSFET and PMOSFET plus the wiring capacitance. Is it? This is for the first inverter, this is for the second inverter, and this is the wiring capacitance that exists between first and second inverter. So this forms the total load capacitance. Now we know that our PMOS devices are made beta times larger than that of our NMOS. If this is so, see, our CDP1 can be written as, the CDP1 can be written as beta into CDN1, because your PMOSFET is beta times greater than that of your NMOSFET. Hence we are writing it as CDP1 is equal to beta into CDN1. Similarly, if you go for CGP1, CG gate capacitance of PMOSFET is equal to beta times of gate capacitance of NMOSFET. Is it? Or we can say it is CGP2. CGP2 is equal to beta times that of your NMOSFET. Beta times that of your NMOSFET. That is why this is, I am writing here as CGP2 is equal to beta times of CGN1. Okay. Okay. Now substitute the values for CD1 and CGP2 in this equation. So you will get as, see, for CDP1 you are substituting it as beta into CD1 and CGP2 you are substituting it as beta into it is CGN2. It is not CGN1, it is CGN2 because it is a second inverter we are writing, right? Hence it is CGN2. Is it? So if you substitute in the above load capacitance equation, and if you take, see here I am substituting here as beta into CDN1 plus CDN1. Is it? For CDP1 I am substituting beta into CD1 plus for CGP2 I am substituting beta into CGN2 plus CGN2. That is already there in the equation. Is it? In this, if you take CDN1 as common, you will get 1 plus beta. And in this equation, if you take CGN2 as common, you will get 1 plus beta. And in that, if you take 1 plus beta as common, you will get this load capacitance equation. CL is equal to 1 plus beta into CDN1 plus CGN2 plus the wiring capacitance that is already exists in your load capacitance equation. And if you return back to your propagation delay, see, you know that your TP is equal to TPHL plus TPLH divided by 2. It is average, right? This is equal to 0.69 CL. See here, it is equal to 0.69 CL R equivalent N plus R equivalent P divided by 2. Is it? So this is what already we have derived. In this you substitute, when you are using beta times that of PMOS, your R equivalent will be reduced by beta times. Is it? Hence it is R equivalent divided by beta. Okay. And if you see here, I forget to write divided by 2, right? See here, I need to write it by 2. Is it? It is TPLH plus TPHL divided by 2. Hence I am writing divided by 2 in this equation. And by 2 is taken as common for 0.69 by 2. And for CL you substitute from this equation. Okay. And for R equivalent N plus R equivalent P divided by beta. As you are increasing beta times compared to of P MOSFET, is it? PMOS devices are made beta times, compared to that of your N MOSFET, is it? Hence, the resistance will be reduced by beta times. Hence, your R equivalent P can be reduced by beta times. Okay. And by substituting all these values in the TP equation, you will get it as, say, 0.3451 plus beta into CDN1 plus CGN2 plus wiring capacitance into, in this, if you take R equivalent as common, okay, you will get 1 plus R equivalent P divided by R equivalent N divided by R equivalent N, R equivalent N. Beta is already there, is it? Beta is already there. If you are taking R equivalent N as common, you will get like this. Okay. So this R equivalent P divided by R equivalent N is your R, is it? This represents the resistance ratio of identically sized PMOS and NMOS transistors. Okay. So that is what it is. R is equal to the resistance ratio of identically sized PMOS and NMOS transistors. So now to find the optimal value of beta, the main aim is the NMOS PMOS ratio, is it? The NMOS PMOS ratio is decided by your beta. Hence, to find the optimal value of beta, what we have to do is, we have to perform a differentiation with respect to beta of your propagation delay, and that should be equated to 0. Okay. So thus optimal value of beta can be found by setting dou Tp divided by dou beta is equal to 0. Okay, if this is the case, see here. So you have to integrate this equation with respect to beta, and once you derive it, you will get your beta optimal as, okay, replace your beta as beta optimal, that's all. So beta optimal is equal to square root of R into 1 plus CW divided by CDN1 plus CGN2. Here, when wiring capacitance is negligible, see, when wiring capacitance is negligible, beta optimal is equals to the square root of R, where R is normally used in the non-cascaded ranges. Okay. If wiring capacitance dominates, see, if this dominates, if this is very low, we can leave it and your beta optimal is proportional to or equals to square root of R. If it is for larger values of WR, the larger values of beta optimal will exist. Okay. This analysis indicates that smaller device sizes yields faster design, smaller device size and smaller area of your transistor yields a faster design at the expense of symmetry and noise margin. Okay. So next we'll move on to the sizing of inverters and its performance. Okay, sizing inverters for performance, for better performance, is it? So how the sizing inverters plays an important role in its performance. Let us discuss how it is happening. So for this, let us assume a symmetrical inverter where your rise time is equal to fall time and your load capacitance is practically divided into two capacitance as internal and external capacitance. That is what here it is represented as intrinsic and extrinsic components. Intrinsic and extrinsic components. Load capacitance CL is equal to C internal plus C external. Okay. The CL is actually a self-loading or intrinsic capacitance of the inverter and is associated with the diffusion capacitance of NMOS and PMOS transistors. Okay. As well as your gate drain overlap capacitance. That is what your CL is basically. Okay. That is what it is all included in your C internal and C external capacitance. We know that our propagation delay is generally equal to 0.69 RC, is it? So here we are having R equivalent into CL for your CMOS inverter. Your CL, you know that it is equivalent to internal and external capacitance. Hence it is C internal plus C external are added instead of CL. Actually that is equal to CL, is it? In this, if you take C internal as common, you will get as 1 plus C external divided by C internal. And you know that this 0.69 R equivalent into C internal is the propagation delay of, so this TP naught is the propagation delay without external load, or we can say it is an unloaded delay, is it? So thus we can replace your 0.69 R equivalent into C internal as TP naught. Okay. So from this, so how does your transistor sizing impact the performance of the gate? See here, to analyze this question, we establish the relationship between various parameters in this equation. We are going to establish the relationship between various parameters in this equation and the sizing factor, yes. And the sizing factor, yes. Okay. So in this you consider C internal consists of diffusion and Miller capacitance, both of which are proportional to the width of the transistors. Hence, C internal is equal to S into Ci ref. That is your inverter reference, is it? Reference capacitance. See, this is S is your scaling factor, sizing factor, or we can say it is a scaling factor. So hence your C internal is S into CIRF and R equivalent is equal to R ref divided by S. R ref divided by S, is it? By substituting the C internal and R equivalent, C internal and R equivalent in this equation, we will get it as 0.69 R reference divided by S and S into Ci ref into 1 plus C external divided by S into Ci ref. Is it? This S and S will be get cancelled, and so we will get 0.69 R ref into Ci ref into 1 plus C external divided by S into Ci ref. So from this what we conclude is TP naught is independent of the sizing of gate. TP naught is, see here, you know the TP naught is independent of the sizing of gate and is determined purely by technology and inverter layout. Okay, and the sizing factor, yes, if it is very greater, it yields, see, making S infinitely large yields the maximum performance by eliminating the impact of any external load or reducing the delay. So this is the basic conclusion that we arrive from this propagation delay in the sizing of inverters performance. Okay.